I moved from Texas to Portugal in 2023 as a freelancer, and now in 2026, the top question I'm getting from other Americans is how they can find European clients or employers so they can move to Europe too. And most Americans don't really know where to start. We're going to fix that today. My guest is Larry Cornett, a former Apple designer, eBay director, and Yahoo executive, but for more than a decade, he's been an independent career coach. In this episode, Larry's going to share his advice on connecting with European clients and employers before you move, what Americans need to know about European work culture, and which industries to check out now. Larry, welcome. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
making time to talk with me.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your background because people should be listening to your podcast, but I know that not everyone here is familiar with it. So maybe
Sure.
tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about how you got to where you are.
Oh wow. Okay. I'll do the short version. So I ended up going to graduate school and got a PhD in psychology. Wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it at first, but then my advisor had spent some time in Silicon Valley and he was a stats person, but he also did some coding and engineering, wrote software. So I kind of got into what they call human computer interaction, which is designing software, but using psychological principles of like memory and cognition and perception, all that kind of stuff. So more from kind of the traditional interaction design perspective. Ended up doing an internship in Silicon Valley at IBM, and all of my career has been relationship based. So that's going to come up a lot where he had a student who was there and he asked the student, are they hiring interns? And he said, I think so. And kind of an informal conversation with some people in the research lab there. So I came out to Silicon Valley in California, kind of fell in love with the Bay Area, which is amazing. I mean, California is gorgeous. And tech, it was kind of the hot time to be in tech out there and just so exciting. The energy was really good. So I ended up working as kind of a researcher and a designer at IBM. Went back and finished up my data collection for my PhD, and then I went back out to work for Apple. So I started working at Apple, which was a dream of mine because I'd used Macs and it was kind of Apple wasn't hot back then. So it was the educational kind of computer and they had them in schools, but they weren't the company they are today. Loved it though, doing software design. And then they, at the end of that, said, hey, we'd love to keep you on full time and hire you. And so I worked remotely for Apple. And then I went out full time and moved to Silicon Valley full time. And that began the journey. So I was at Apple. I left to go join a startup during the dot-com boom, then the crash. Went back to corporate when I was at eBay, Yahoo, and that's when I got into leadership. I was at eBay and Yahoo and became an exec at Yahoo. And then in 2010, I left forever. So I started my own thing and started consulting after that. And it's been a journey since then. I started coaching, I would say about 10 years ago.
What was that transition like for you? Just kind of briefly, because I am trying to, I guess, kind of offer ideas, career paths, inspiration for
Sure.
people who are working in the US now, but are considering shifting to a consultant or independent contractor model, depending on the type of visa that they want to apply for in Europe. So what was your experience like?
Yeah. Yeah. The first time I did it, I guess, was pretty early. I was at a startup that got acquired. And then the acquiring company laid us all off. They took our intellectual property and fired us all. And we were like, fine, whatever. Kind of didn't enjoy working for that company anyway. The company was going to spin up as another startup. And I said, it's kind of funny. The lack of stability drove me into consulting to get stability, which people are like, what do you mean? A corporate job is stable. I was like, no, it's not. Corporate job is not stable. You are at their whim and mercy, and I'd rather be under my own control. So I started a little design agency back then. Uh, it's one of the things I tell people is I essentially kind of did a copy and paste of my job description to create a business description. It's like everything I was doing as an employee, as a senior designer at the time, designing interfaces and software and websites, I did as a consultant. But instead of doing it for one client, an employer, I did it for multiple. Um, if you're a self starter and you can manage your own calendar and you like talking to people and networking, and because that's really all sales is conversations, then Yeah, yeah, I think you would like it, and just take everything you've learned, all the skills and knowledge as an employee, and turn that into a business model is really what I recommend.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you on like the freedom and the fact that to me, yeah, it does. The idea of working for just one client or a
Yeah,
company feels incredibly risky,
it
especially
is.
right
Yeah.
now
Mhm.
with everything that's going on in terms of like the AI transformation and
Yeah.
just things in
Yeah.
general. So, for someone who is new to this, who maybe they have a couple of clients of their own, or maybe they are just starting out, and they would like to build a client base that's diversified geographically,
Right,
so they're
smart.
not just dependent on US
Mhm.
clients. Yeah, yeah. Um, what do you recommend that they do? Because it's one thing, like there's a learning curve, right? When you start out as a
Yeah.
consultant to doing your marketing and your networking in a way that's effective and efficient. And then you add in the cultural differences and the
Right.
market
Yeah.
differences. What are your recommendations
Yeah.
for people who want to do that?
Oh, part of what I think helped me expand beyond the US, which I think is incredibly important. And if people didn't believe it before, I hope they believe it now. Um, you want to diversify your client base across industries because industries have issues. Some will be in decline or struggling, and others will be doing just fine. Size of companies and corporations and individuals you're working with, but also geographies. Absolutely. Part of, I think, what helped me is the information technology space, tech is very global. I mean, it kind of always was. Even when I worked at Apple, I worked with people all over the world. And so I worked with people in Ireland, I worked with people in Taiwan, China, Japan, all over the place, and did a lot of travel and got to build relationships. What I've found is if if you don't already believe that relationship building is important for a global business, super important. It's all about trust. What I have found is that referrals are huge for expanding globally, that people want to know who you are and feel like they can trust you. So your reputation matters a lot. The relationship you have with people matters a lot. So you want to keep building your network and build it globally. Don't just have an American network. Um, Stuff that may not matter as much, especially in California in tech, is matters more in other places. So I'd say degrees, certifications, reputation, credibility. People are kind of a little bit of a cowboy model here where it's like, hey, I didn't even go to school. I didn't graduate from high school and I own a tech company. And that's normal here. That happens a lot. I find that's not as accepted or common if you go to other cultures and countries that they're like, what's your degree? What are your certifications? Where did you study? Who trusts you? Where did you work? All of that matters a lot. Um, so I'd say continue your relationship building efforts, which you should always be doing, but intentionally expand globally. And I did that, I would say, in multiple ways. One is I had already built relationships through my corporate job and I maintained those relationships. And so I'm still friends with people that are scattered all over the world. Um, I had expanded those relationships in country because I spent time traveling. You talk about this. Travel super important. Get to know where you're going. Don't just move and go, I hope this is great. Um, a lot of travel for business and for pleasure and expanding and building those networks and so forth. I joined a community through a marketing course because I was pretty new to marketing and sales. And I was like, I should really learn this and learn what I'm doing. And so I did this, and it was a global community, huge, huge community. And so I ended up doing coffee chats and meeting people from all over the world that were solopreneur, entrepreneurial, which really helped a lot. And I'm still friends with those people. And so that built relationships. And those people are like, hey, do you want to come and work with me in Australia? Do you want to work with me in Italy? Should we do a retreat in Germany? Should we, stuff like that. Build those relationships and get outside the borders. That's really important.
And that's really, it's easy to do now.
Oh,
That's
so
the
easy.
thing, you know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't have to get on a plane to build these relationships. It
No,
doesn't hurt to do
no.
that, but it's not a requirement.
Yeah.
There are
Way
so
harder
many
in
just like,
1995. I'll tell you.
yeah, yeah, you actually had to like get up and go.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah. So, the other thing that I wanted to talk about is um, the idea of, especially for people who are in tech, which several of the people in my community are,
Mhm.
now seems like a good time to be exploring adjacent fields anyway.
Yeah.
And there was something that you said, yeah, to put it mildly, there was something that you said in one of your podcast episodes that kind of, I think that's kind of how we met because I commented on it
Mhm.
about, what was it? It was exploring adjacent industries and employers in Europe in those areas. And I think like
Yeah, yeah.
Husqvarna was one of the companies that you mentioned. Can you
Yeah,
talk a little
yeah,
bit
yeah.
about that strategy?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think anybody who's worked in tech, there's been kind of a core of tech for a long time. And there were software companies and computer companies. But what happened, I think, with the dot-com explosion and the web is that everybody, and somebody mentioned this, one of the venture capital people, he said, every company is a tech company, whether they know it or not. And it's kind of happening that every company is using technology and a lot of cloud-based services and software to manage their employees, their sales, their CRMs, their production, their communication, their market, everything, right? And it's very hard to find a company of a certain size that it doesn't have an online presence now. And so Husqvarna is a great example. It's a really old company, I think, started in Sweden. I love their chainsaws, so that's how it came up. It's like, but they're into all kinds of stuff now, right? So they're into battery and power and autonomous lawnmowers, all kinds of weird stuff. But it's a massive multinational corporation. It's bigger than people think. You know, if you haven't heard of Husqvarna, it's like it's a little sleeper, right? Because it's only if you're a geek and you're into lawn stuff and chainsaws. But I was curious and I looked and I said, I bet they have a tech team. They have to because they have a pretty nice, their website and all their different types of websites, pretty nice, well designed. It clearly have online e-commerce. Everybody has online e-commerce now. And so I started looking. It's like, well, yes, they do. They're hiring designers, they're hiring engineers, marketing people, salespeople, all over the world. And so I started looking and poking around. It's true of almost every company that you would not necessarily think of as a tech company. And they're not a quote tech company, but they're sitting on a tech platform and they need people who work in tech. And so I always tell people, it's like, look at companies you admire and respect, whether you like their products and services or you know it's a strong company that's doing well, and dig into their careers and dig into what they hire people to do. And sometimes it's contractors and consultants too. And you'll probably find that they're hiring a really diverse set of people. They're not just hiring people to sit on an assembly line and put chainsaws together, right?
That's a good point. And this advice is applicable to people who work outside of tech as well. Like if you're in
Absolutely.
marketing or especially if you're in, I think like renewables right now, Europe is going really big into, there's a lot of startups in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
renewable energy space, battery storage, things of that nature. Um, Anything pharmaceutical, anything like med tech,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Transportation.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so the opportunities are there. So, there was something you mentioned earlier. It was about education and degrees. And I was talking with a community member about whether a master's would help her be competitive in her field.
Mm,
She has a master's. And I honestly, wasn't quite sure what to say because I feel like in
sure.
Europe, because education is so much, it is such a small expense relative to your
Mm,
overall,
mm.
I guess, cost of living, that a lot of people have master's degrees,
A lot
like
of educated
almost,
people. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, because it's inexpensive and it's accessible. So of
Right.
course you're going to get a
Yeah.
master's degree, right? You're going to get your bachelor's and you're going to get your master's. And so I'm wondering, and this is kind of, I'm veering off of our pre-interview notes here a
Oh,
little
that's
bit, but
fine.
I would love your
Yeah.
opinion on this. Um, for someone who is maybe looking to make a career pivot, and we can use tech as an example because that's your sphere,
Sure.
would it be worth, do you think, somebody maybe pursuing an English language master's degree in a program in Europe in a country that they want to work in
Right.
to,
Right.
maybe use that not only as a path to, depending on the country, toward time in country for residence and the
Sure.
option to get a work permit during the postgraduate period, but also maybe to just get in there and start building connections,
Hmm.
pivot to another field. What do you think about that? Is that something that you think
Yeah.
would be worth exploring or?
And I think there's such a range of value, I think, perceived in degrees, advanced degrees, depending on geography and industry. Used to be a huge thing in tech, and now they're proudly proclaiming they don't even care if you get a college degree. Like Google's like, we used to want people with masters and PhDs, and now we realize it doesn't correlate with success here. So we don't care. And they're famously saying, we don't care if you have a college degree. Don't even worry about it. So there's been a weird arc of, yeah, you better have an advanced degree, engineering degree, masters. MBAs were getting hired like crazy here. And now they're like, yeah, we don't care anymore. So it really does depend on where you work. And I know some people have to have an advanced degree to do the work they do. My daughter works in marine science and she has a master's, and you kind of need it for what she's doing. Um, Varies by geography too. Like you'll be in some countries and it seems like it carries a lot of weight more than, I mean, like, so what? I have a PhD. I don't even talk about it usually. And people are like, oh, wow. And it's like, yeah, okay. But in some countries, it seems to carry a lot of weight. So I definitely, depending on where you want to end up, dive deep into that country culture. And that's the thing about Europe, right? And you know this better than anybody. It's like people say Europe, I'm like, every country is a completely unique culture and completely different laws and corporate entities and the perception of the value of a different type of degree. And so you have the matrix of what industry you're talking about and what country you're talking about. So are you talking about tech, or are you talking about trying to be a professor at a college, or you want to work in the pharmaceutical industry or whatever? It's like, it's going to vary quite a bit. Um, so I would look into that, but also I I love higher education because I think there's value in it beyond just the degree. The How it changes you, and so I think I'd love to go back to school again. It's like I enjoyed college, and so I'm tempted to do that again. Sometimes there is a pathway into a country through college and a degree. My son was looking into it. He's like, should I go do my master's in Germany? He's like, he's working on his master's right now in data science. And so there might be a way for you to come in and get a student type of visa and be able to live in the country. And if you're open to that, and you enjoy that, and you think it would be beneficial for what you do, uh, I would say look into it and do it if you can afford it financially, or if you could get a scholarship or whatever it might be. But being able to be in country is going to be invaluable because you're going to find out, do I really want to live here? Because it's a 2-week vacation doesn't tell you much, right? So you got to be somewhere for a long time. Do I really like the culture? Do I fit in? Is this going to be what I think it's going to be? Is there a pathway for me to become a resident and to either become an employee or start a business here? And building the network, right? So it's great to have some place to like live and survive in country while you're doing your research and while you're preparing and kind of making up your mind. Because when you're just burning vacation dollars, it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and we don't really get enough vacation as Americans if we're working for a
No.
company
Yeah.
to really test out a place.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. It's really
like
hard. It's
there's,
really hard.
yeah, it's just, even as a
Yeah.
contractor, I kind of ran into that limit because I had so many deliverables that I had to like
Oh,
schedule
sure.
around my scouting trips that I was like, I would like this to be longer, but
Yeah.
do you want to move to Europe, but you don't know where to start? Or have you started researching different country requirements and you're feeling overwhelmed by all the conflicting information out there? Check out our new membership community. It's a curated learning space where you can discover and compare your options for moving to Europe, get one-to-one support from me, and connect with other Americans who are planning their own moves. You'll also have access to monthly Moving to Europe mini courses, regular live Q&As, and the tools you need to track your progress, along with reliable, up-to-date information organized so you can find what you need when you need it. You'll also get access to We're Moving to Europe podcast episodes a week before everybody else. And if you sign up now, you get a free 7-day trial to check it out and see if it's right for you. Sign up at We're Moving to Europe on school.com. That's SKOOL.com, or get the link in this episode's show notes. So we've talked about building your network, the importance of that. We've talked about diversifying that network geographically. We've talked about
Absolutely. Yeah.
considering potential clients across different industries, in adjacent industries, and companies of different sizes. Is
Yeah.
there anything else that you typically recommend to people who are looking to either build their network, strike out on their own, or make themselves more appealing to a broader range of employers that you think would apply for
Yeah.
people looking to move to Europe?
I think, and I'm always recommending this for people anyway. People are always trying to assess your credibility and your intelligence and your capability to deliver what you say you can. And when you're a blank book or a closed book, I don't know how they can do that without referrals and networking, which can help, right? We've entered a world which is unfortunate. Everybody's a super expert on everything or claims to be. It's super easy to create a profile. You can completely fabricate your LinkedIn. No one really validates that. And so I see a lot of people say, I'm this and that. And I'm like, where's your degree in that? There's a lot of people who are neuroscientists. And I'm like, I'm a neuroscientist. I'm like, how? And I look and I'm like, I don't see a degree in neuroscience. And you poke a little bit and you're like, well, I'm really interested in it. And I read it all the time. I said, that doesn't make you a neuroscientist. It's like any more than I'm a surgeon. Boy, I'm a heart surgeon. Why? I said I am, and I like it. I'm really interested in it. So I think it's caused a problem. There used to be barriers to credibility and perceived credibility and certifications and degrees. There used to be a lot of barriers. And this is
Mhm.
a bad
Yeah.
and good thing, right? And it's like all these gatekeepers. But when you published a book and when you
Mhm.
got a degree, it was real and it was verified. And you had to go through a lot of hoops to make it happen. Now it's super easy. And so it's caused a credibility problem. And that's why the networking is so important. The referrals are so important.
Mhm.
So the other piece I recommend is you need to share yourself online, like we're doing right now. It's like you
Mhm.
really should be writing articles. You should have a newsletter. You should have
Yeah.
podcasts. Be on podcasts. If you do video, do video. Do it on YouTube or wherever your favorite place is to do it. Share yourself. Share your knowledge.
Mhm.
Share the way you think. Talk through things. Share case studies. Have people on your show. Have an old client on your show and talk about the process you worked through with them. Put yourself out
Mhm.
there so people can see you and say, oh, okay, they do know their stuff. They do talk
Yeah.
intelligently. They did solve this person's problem. They're credible. Be on panels. There are places you
Mhm.
can still be vetted where it's like, I'm going to be on a panel of speakers at a conference, or if a corporation's hosting it or whatever it might be, or a roundtable. And if you show up, and this is why I tell people to do public speaking. It's like instant credibility, whether it's deserved or not. Instant
Right.
credibility. You're on stage talking in front of 200 people. Everybody's like, you must be an expert. Doing
Right.
that has generated tons of work for me, tons of clients. I spoke at a conference in Australia and was swarmed by people at the end wanting to ask questions and talk with me and give me their cards and saying, hey, can I talk with you about consulting and coaching? I'll take you out to dinner. And it's like, okay,
All right.
instant credibility.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I absolutely recommend that people put yourself out there so that people can see
Mhm.
that you are credible, you know?
Yeah. And for some people, that's a little bit of a psychological leap, I think,
Absolutely.
especially if you've been
Yeah.
an employee for a long time, or if you're a hardcore introvert,
I'm
like
an
if I could
introvert.
do my entire career with a bag over my head, I
Yeah.
would do it, just
Yeah.
because, but you can't do that. That you have to connect with other people and you have to
Not if
put
you want to be
yourself
a
out there
business
and it can be
person. Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And find what works for you.
So,
Like I love writing because it works really well for my introverted nature. It's harder for
mhm,
me to be on video. It's harder for me to do the podcast, the
mhm,
in-person stuff. I've learned and I kind of forced myself and now I kind of enjoy public speaking, but I used to be terrified of it. It used to scare me. I'm an introvert. People don't believe it, but I'm a hardcore introvert. So that's why I like writing. Writing is great if you're an introvert. It's a great way to communicate and share your information.
absolutely. And so, yeah, so building up that, I guess, that base of credibility, or
Yeah,
as we would say in corporate marketing, you're establishing authority, right?
absolutely. Yeah,
If other
yeah,
people are vetting you and you've shared your expertise in different media, like an omnichannel thought leadership program
yeah,
just for
yeah.
yourself, basically,
And that
that
can
that's
be
really
conferred,
important.
right? So it's like if you
Mhm.
have, and we all probably do if we take a hard look, if you have really credible people in your network that are very well
Mhm.
connected, very well respected, being on their podcast show, being interviewed by them, or being on a roundtable with them, or inviting them onto your show, people are like, oh, this person must be
Yeah.
legit. Like, how did they get this person on their podcast? They must be real.
Mhm.
They must be legit. So You can lean
Yeah.
into that too, is engage with people in your network that already have that reputation and credibility, and
Mhm.
find a way for that to kind of rub off a little bit on you so that people are like, oh, you must be credible too.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't necessarily need, as you're planning your international move, to also start a podcast.
Right.
But
No,
if you have
no.
people in your network who are podcasting or have a
Yeah.
weekly newsletter that they feature people in,
Yeah.
do those things.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah. Okay. Well, Larry, this has been great. Is there anything that we haven't asked about that you would like people to
Yeah.
know if they're, planning to move, but they
Sure.
also need to
Sure.
do some sort of career adjustment to make it happen?
The thing that I think is important, especially, I grew up in America. I was born and raised here. Um, we have a certain way of behaving that some kind of respect and admire and go, "Oh, I wish we could be more like that." And others, it can rub people the wrong way. And you see it with tourists, you see it in the business world. We tend to be loud and opinionated and make decisions quickly and push for things. And we were happy to work through the weekend, and I learned from travel and spending time in France and spending time in Asia, Japan, all over the place. It's like, hey, the team, we're all going to go out for dinner and drinks. Stop talking about work. Their social life and their family life and friends are very important. And it's not all business all the time. So I'd say, as an American, take a step back, do deep research on where you want to be, right? Don't generally say Europe, but pick a country or two and do some deep research and learn the culture. Learn the culture and learn what's right and wrong. Learn personally and in the corporate world and the business world. Communication, learn some of the language. People really would like you to not come in like an American and not even care about their language and customs and culture. I always researched every culture I was entering, even when I was an employee, so that I didn't make mistakes. When I spent time in Japan, it's very formal, the business world especially. There's a lot of respect for hierarchy, the way you behave, the way you act with the big boss, and going out to dinner and drinks. It's a process, and you better learn it. Otherwise, you're going to look like a buffoon, and you're certainly not going to get business. So I'd say research, learn the culture, learn the company culture, learn the legal stuff. It's worth hiring a lawyer in country to get some advice if you're going to set up, business there. If you're going to get employment there, you're looking to relocate. And you share this kind of stuff all the time with your community. So it's like, do your homework, know what you're getting into, and be prepared so that you don't act like a bumbling American coming in.
Yeah, because sometimes it's just those small little things at the beginning of an interaction
Yeah.
that can set the tone for everything that comes later. And if you know it, skate right through. And if you don't,
Right.
it's, like pushing a rock uphill,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. All right. Well, Larry, thank you so much. Where can people find you if they're interested in following? You have like 3, I
I have
think,
so much
podcasts.
stuff.
Yeah.
3 podcasts, 3 newsletters. Yeah. I'm very active on Substack and LinkedIn. LarryCornett.coach, COACH.
Okay.
That basically
Mm,
is a starting hub that points to everything. So I make it easier for people so they can just visit that.
okay. Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insight and your wisdom. And that's,
Cool. Thanks for having me.
That's a
Appreciate
wrap.
it. All right.
All right. Thank you.
All righty. Bye.
If this is the kind of life you're trying to figure out how to get to, I have a free community for Americans who would like to move to Europe and need a little help with the planning and figuring out where they can go. There's a link below if you want in. Click it, and we'll see you there.